Okay, so you are following agile methodology in your project, right?
Yeah, we are following agile way of development.
Okay, can you explain what all things you are using, how you are following everything on day-to-day basis?
Yeah, sure. So we are using agile to ensure iterative development, and we do continuous development basically. So for that we use agile way of development, and in that we have the Scrum framework. So we use Scrum as our agile framework, and we have the 2 weeks of each sprint. So initially we get the uh, sub list of user stories, and those user stories are splitted into different developers, and each developers are assigned with those tasks. Okay, and then within this each sprint of 2 week, we are assigned with the some set of tasks. So we have to finish those tasks within that sprint. Okay. After that, we have a daily stand-ups. So we conduct daily stand-up meetings to discuss progress, any roadblocks, or next steps. Once the development is done, so we use Jenkins, uh, like GitHub to we use to commit the code, commit and push the code, and from there it is pulled by the Jenkins, and the automatic build takes place, and the build and deployment happens. Once our I mean those testings, after that some testings happen. So once the testing is done, then it is further deployed to the dev environment. Okay, then we
Okay,
have the
which tool do you use for this?
we use Jira for that, uh, for the user stories and all.
Okay, okay. Okay, so in microservices, suppose if any component of the microservices you are done with that, I mean development of that. So how do you follow the agile process here? Can you explain the steps?
Yeah, whenever suppose we are done with any microservices, so uh, we discuss the remaining activities like testing, deployment, and monitoring in daily stand-ups. And then uh, so once the sprint is completed usually, so we showcase the completed work and we gather the feedback from various stakeholders, and then we identify that what went well and any area of improvement is there. Okay, and after that further the testing of that takes place. So once development is done, then that we ticket is created, and that ticket is assigned to the testing team, so that ensure the microservices functionality is correctly working fine. And then again in testing we have unit testing, integration testing, then we have end-to-end testing, and then again we have performance testing. So all those kind of testing will be there. So once all of them are done, then microservices deployed to the staging environment for the further validation. So we are using Jenkins for that, for CI/CD pipeline for automated testing and, and deployment. And then if the and we also, once that is done, then we also have the documentation part. So in Swagger we have the place where we can update the documentation of each and every API which we are writing the code. So there we have to write like whatever the inputs it takes, what output it should have, and what is the use case. So all those things we mention there. So basically there is a confluence page is there for that. So yeah, so we follow these steps. So even after development is complete, so since this is a agile process, so like integration, testing, deployment, and monitoring, that all those will keep on continue. so along with the other APIs also. So yeah, so these are the steps we follow for this.
Okay, what is the difference between double equal to and dot equals?
Yeah, double equal to basically compares memory references, and dot equals compares the content of the, I mean, of two different objects. So basically, double equal to works with primitive type and objects both, and mostly we use in case of primitive types. And dot equals we work with, I mean, only whenever we have objects. Okay,
Okay, can you give me any
so
example when double equal to and dot equals they give opposite result? Like let's say double equal to gives true and maybe dot equals gives false.
yeah, sure. So let's say we have a string, right? So string basically overrides the default, I mean, equals behavior in the object class. So let's say we have a string s1 equal to new string of let's say abc. Okay, and then again we have a string s2 equal to new string of abc. Okay, so we have s1 and s2. So if we say s1 double equal to s2, so in that case it will give the result as false. Okay, because it is in constant pool. So from there, uh, like whenever we say double equal to, so they have different memory locations, right? So uh, that is why this will give the false result. But whenever we have s1 dot equals to dot equals s2, so since the content is same, that is abc, so it will give the true result.
So the example which you gave, right? String s1 equal to new string of abc. So this s1 is referring to constant pool.
No, no, this will be into heap memory. But if suppose if we say string s1 equal to abc directly, so in that case it will go to the constant pool.
Okay. So suppose if we want to get the true in both of the scenarios, like s1 equal to s2, then also it should give true. And even if we do s1 dot equals s2, then also it should give true. Okay. So how you will do it in a string?
Yeah, so in that case, like suppose we have a string s1 equal to like abc, and again we have a string s2, that also we just say equal to abc. Okay, so both will be into the constant pool, string constant pool, and this s1 and s2 will be referring to the same. Okay, so in this case, like even if we do s1 double equal to s2 or s1 equals s2, so both will return true.
Okay. Can you tell me how does the Java memory model affect the visibility of the changes made by one thread to another thread?
Yeah, so for that, we basically use volatile keyword. So Java provides basically uh, one of the way using volatile keyword, so that ensures that the variable is always read from the main memory. Okay, so if it is from the CPU cache, in that case there can be the visibility problem. But if it is being read from the main memory, in that case it will always be updated. Okay, so volatile is the way to ensure that the variable is always taken from the main memory. So changes made by one thread becomes immediately visible to another thread using this volatile keyword. Okay, and then there is another way is also using the synchronization keyword. Okay, so basically the keyword is synchronized, and the way we do this, so this technique is called synchronization. So the synchronization block ensures the visibility and atomicity. So when a thread enters a synchronized block, so it reads from the main memory. Okay, so when a thread exits, so it writes the changes back to the main memory. So in this case also, the whatever the new thread will be coming, so that will be reading from the main memory. So yeah, so these are the ways how it is handled.
Okay, so what is the difference between abstract class and interface?
Yeah, abstract class can have abstract and concrete methods, and interface can only have abstract methods. Okay, so but after Java 8, it can have a static and default methods as well. So that is different thing. And then in abstract class, so can have the instance variables, and in case of interface, that can only have the constants in static and final. Then abstract class uh, is single inheritance basically, and interface can support multiple inheritance. So yeah, so this is the difference between these two.
Okay, what is the difference between hash map and hash table?
Hash map and hash table. So hash map is uh, not thread safe, and hash table is thread safe. So that is the main difference. And hash table was introduced older Java version 1.2, and like hash map can consist of one null key, and it can have multiple null values, but hash table cannot have any null keys or values. So yeah, this is the difference.
Okay, and which is faster between these two?
Yeah, in these two, hash map will be faster because that is not thread safe, so multiple threads can access at the same time. So hash table is slower. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so how can you make any object as immutable? So how do you achieve this?
Yeah, so if I want to make an object immutable in Java, so we have to ensure that once it is created, its state cannot be changed. So Java already has example of immutable class like string is there. Okay. So, but if we want to create any custom immutable class, so in that case, we can first of all mark the class as final. Okay. So that is the first thing. So basically this ensures that no other class can extend it or modify its behavior. And then the next step will be like mark all fields as private and final. Okay, so basically making it private, that ensures that no direct access from the outside can be done for this. Okay, and final ensures that the value assigned only once and it cannot be further updated. Okay, and then we write the getters and setters. So basically no setters. Okay, we have to remove the setters, so it won't provide any methods that allow changing the field values. Okay, so that is why we remove setters, so only getters will be there. Then uh, we can do the, if any object is there, right? So I mean we can do the deep copy mutable object inside the constructor. So if the class has any mutable objects like a list or any other some custom object, so I want to store the original reference. Instead, I will create a new copy and store it. Okay, so that new copy will be deep copy. So each and every um, the object property we have to, I mean, copy to the new one. Okay, and then we have to return the deep copy of the mutable object. So if any class has getter for mutable fields, I will return a deep copy instead of exposing the actual reference. Okay, so these are the steps we need to follow.
To achieve the immutability for an object. Okay, okay. Okay, what if I remove the deep copy from the constructor and getters?
Yeah, in that case, the object will not be truly immutable. Okay, So if I directly store the reference of the mutable list, so in that case someone can modify it from outside, so it won't be truly mutable. Because let's say if we have any object, right? So let's say we have a employee object, okay, and we have new employee and name is there, its age is there, and let's say it has some set of skills, okay, that is the object, okay. So uh, in this case, I mean, anyone can easily further, if it allows the modification, so skills dot add we can do, and we can add further more skills in that, right? So it can easily be modified, so it won't be mutable.
Okay, okay. Okay, what is transient keyword in Java?
Yeah, transient keyword in Java that we use when we don't want a particular variable to be serialized. Okay, so normally when we serialize an object, so all its fields get converted into byte stream and saved. But if we mark any field as transient, so Java skips that field during serialization. Okay, for example, let's say we have a employee class, and we say implements is serializable, and then we have multiple properties like name, age, salary, and all. Okay, so if any of the field we say like let's say before salary we say transient and int or double salary. Okay, so that field won't be saved. While so when we deserialize it, its value will be zero. I mean initialized will be the default value when we deserialize it. So yeah.
Okay, so in real time, why we use this? In real time project, have you used it?
Yeah, the most common use case is when we use any sensitive information. So that should not be serialized. That should not be stored basically. Like suppose any password is there or any um, let's say any credit card detail is there. So we don't want them to be written to a file or sent over a network. Okay. So um, we uh, use this transient keyword in that case.
Okay, even after using transient, suppose if we still want to store that transient field somehow, okay, so can we do that?
Yeah, if we want to manually save and restore a transient field, we can use custom serialization by implementing write object and read object methods. So, like we have write object which throws IO exception. So, out dot default write object is there. So that serialize the non transient field. And whenever we have to manually write transient field, we can say out dot write double of salary. Okay, that's salary. So that way it can be done.
Okay, can you explain how Hashmap works internally?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, whenever we try to store any data to Hashmap, like that whatever the map object is there, that dot put and dot of key and value will be there. So initially the hash of that key is calculated. Based on that hash, we generate the index of that. Okay. So again, the initially there will be the bucket of 16 size will be generated, like from 0 to 15, and suppose the whatever the index comes, so based on that calculated index number, that whatever the data we are trying to insert, that goes to that corresponding bucket of that based on this index. Okay, so now there can be two scenarios here. Either that bucket has already some data, okay, or any nodes. So basically here the data is stored in the form of nodes. Okay, so now we have two scenarios. Either it can have already the nodes one data will be there, and or it will be completely empty. If it is empty, it will just create a new node and it will fill the values like key, hash code value, like link to the next node, and that will be null in this case whenever it is nothing, there is no node. But if already one node is there, then this newly created node will be attached to that. Okay, so the whatever the number of nodes are there, so we have the limitation of it. So up to 8 it is fine, but whenever it is more than 8, in that case from Java 8, it reconstructs itself to the red black tree. Okay, and based on that, since we have more number of I mean nodes, so the calculation since happens faster, so that is why this feature has been updated in Java 8. Okay, and once all this is done, and then similarly while get operation also, so same approach is followed. So whenever we are saying get of a key, so that again for that key the index is has first of all hash code is generated, then index is generated, and based on that index we go and search to the corresponding bucket, and we get the values from there. So this is how I mean all
Okay,
of.
now what if the key we are inserting is null? Then what will happen?
If key has been inserted to null, then I think it will be stored at the zeroth index. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so you have experience on Java 8, right?
Yes, I do have.
So what are the features of Java 8?
Yeah, there are various features which has been introduced by Java 8, like Lambda expression is there, functional interface stream API, then default and static methods in interfaces, then optional class is there, then datetime API is there. So yeah, so these are the things are there.
Okay. So what is lambda expression?
Yeah, lambda expression is a, we can say, like compact or concise way of writing anonymous functions. So it eliminates the need for writing a long anonymous inner class. Okay, so it is mainly used for the functional programming, and if any of the interface has only one method in that, so it's better to go for the lambda expression. So for example, let's say we have runnable, right? So in that we have public void run. Okay, so we don't have to write this completely. Okay, so instead of that we can write the runnable r equal to, and just I mean bracket, we can just write whatever inside that run, because that runnable has the only method which is run. Okay, so we don't have to explicitly name that method. So yeah, so that's the use of lambda expression.
Okay. And what is functional interface?
Yeah, functional interface is an interface that has exactly one abstract method. So that's the functional interface, and uh, in the interface, on top of that interface we can just annotate with at the rate of functional interface. So that makes sure that whatever the rules we are following for that specific interface, so that complies with the functional interface. If we are not following that, in that case it will automatically, it will be showing the like kind of compilation error in that. So it can have multiple default or static methods also, but yeah, it will have only one abstract method. So yeah,
Okay. Can you name some inbuilt functional interfaces?
yeah, there are many. Like we have a predicate, consumer, then supplier. So all these are there.
Okay, okay. So what is a stream API?
Stream API, like it provides a way to process collection functionally. So we can use like various intermediate and terminal operations on top of that, like we have filter, map, then sorted, reduce, collect, all that is there. So we can use that. So it allows for parallel execution and lazy evaluation. So we can just simply say like suppose we have any list is there, okay, any collection object is there, let's say list. Okay, so list dot stream we can say, and then dot filter or map we can apply. And after all our operation, we can again say in the end like for each or collect, or again on top of that sorted we can apply. So that is how we write it.
So what is find first? Do you know about it?
Yeah, find first basically it returns the first element of the stream. So let's say we have arrays dot as list. Let's say a b c d is there, strings are there. Okay, so whenever we say list dot stream dot find first, okay, so it will give the first element, that is a, from that list.
Okay. So what is the difference between map and flat map?
Yeah, map basically that transforms each element individually. So whenever we have the scenario like arrays dot as list a b c d, okay, as I said earlier, so in that case we can use a simply map. Okay, if we have to show that I mean print all the strings inside that array list. But suppose we have two different lists arrays dot as list, then uh, we again have inside that again nested array list is there. Okay, so in that case we will have to use the flat map. Okay, so that uses that basically flattens the nested structure before transformation. So it won't, if we are using map only here, in that case it will be showing like I mean nested object only it will be showing. But if we will be using flat map, so in that case even the nested structure can be brought to the top. I mean a b c d we can directly we can see as an output. So yeah, so that's the difference between these two.
Okay, so what are the intermediate and what are the terminal operations?
Yeah, intermediate operations we have like filter, map, sorted, all these are intermediate. And terminal means which is used in the end. Once the operation we perform the operation, then we want to finish it. So at that time like collect is there, for each is there, reduce is there. So all that we use, so that is terminal operations.
Okay, okay. So what is predicate? How we use it?
Yeah, predicate is a functional interface that tests a condition. So basically it returns directly true or false boolean. Okay, so suppose we have to write like any number divisible by 2. Okay, so we have to check like, okay, if it is divisible by 2 or not. So we can just say uh, is even, and then n lambda expression, then n percent 2 equal to 0. Okay, then that we can store into predicate object, and that object dot test if we say, and we can pass the actual integer whichever we want to test, either if it is even or odd. Okay, so if we say is even like dot test, and then we pass the number, so it will give us the boolean result like true or false. So that's the use of predicate.
Okay. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of microservices?
Yeah, so the main advantage is that like uh, we have microservices deployed like a kind of a separate entity. So suppose if we have a project, then the whole project is split into the different small modules, and uh, or a small microservices we can say. And each microservices has its own database and its own functionality and everything, right? So each microservice is deployed separately, And suppose if any issue comes to any of the microservices, so it is not going to impact the whole of the project or whole of the application. Okay, so we might be doing some fault tolerance or something. So in case of any specific microservices failure, so we can just return the some standard message or something like that. So there are different ways, but yeah. So the main the the crux is that we are not going to take down the whole application, right? So that's the main thing. But in case of monolithic, it is not the case. If any issue or anything happens, we have to take down the whole application because all application is together binded with each other, right? Another advantage is like we are not bind to use any specific technology, right? So we are flexible enough. So different microservices can be using different programming languages, different databases, different frameworks and all. So that is also one advantage. Then also we will have the faster development because like suppose we have like 3 4 microservices, we have splitted one application into suppose multiple microservices, right? So each microservices can be assigned to the different developers and we have to complete it faster, so it can be done like as fast as possible compared to the monolithic one. Then another advantage is each microservices can be scaled independently. Okay, suppose any specific microservice is getting more number of hits, right? That that requires to be, I mean, or that requires more size or more memory. Okay, so we instead of giving the or scaling up the all of the microservices, so that specific microservice we can scale up. Okay, and then the security is also much better than the monolithic one because we have like microservices they all are isolated with each other, right? So there are the very less chances that any hacker can hack all of them at the same time. Okay, and then coming to disadvantages however we have centralized system of logging and all, but it is kind of difficult for the deployment and monitoring. So since multiple microservices run independently, so it becomes like kind of challenging to track logs, monitor the performance and debug issues. So that is one thing. And then network latency we can say, so performance issue can be there compared to the monolithic little bit in this. So we might see little bit of lag because microservices communicate over the network using like APIs, REST APIs or message queues. Okay, so like that basically adds some latency between the communication and increases the risk of network failures. Okay, so that is also one disadvantage we can say. And then implementing the security challenges is kind of little bit more complex compared to monolithic one because here in each microservices we have to ensure authentication, authorization, and we have to secure API communication between them. And then testing and debugging is also kind of a little bit difficult compared to monolithic because since microservices are distributed, integration testing becomes a little bit complex. Okay, and debugging across multiple services requires some centralized logging and tracing tools like ELK, Zipkin, and all. So it is kind of little bit difficult to test and debug. So yeah, so these are the advantages and disadvantages are there.
Okay, what are the design patterns, you know?
Uh, there are various design patterns we have factory, we have
No, no,
builder,
no, no.
singleton.
I mean, with respect to the microservices.
Okay, for microservices, we have API gateway pattern, Then we have circuit breaker pattern. So the API gateway pattern is used to provide a single entry point for all the client requests. So like here multiple things like the security logging and uh, reaching out to all the microservices from the single point. So all those things like can be done. And then circuit breaker design pattern is like that is used to handle failures in microservices by preventing repeated attempts to call the failing service. Okay, so it helps in preventing cascading failures in the system, and it allows system to fail with some proper handling. Okay, so that is circuit breaker. And then service discovery pattern is there, right? It basically used for dynamic scaling, and it ensures services are always discoverable. Okay, so it generates the dynamically IP addresses and all. Okay, and it simplifies service interactions by abstracting network details. Then we have saga design pattern. So the saga pattern is used for managing distributed transactions across multiple microservices. So rather than using a single monolithic transaction, a saga coordinates a series of local transactions so that are managed by each service. So if one transaction fails, so compensating actions are triggered to roll back the transaction. Yeah, so these are the design patterns we have.
Okay, okay. Okay, so you know at the rate of Spring Boot application annotation.
Yeah,
Okay, what is the work of it?
work means like it is basically the combination of three other annotations. So that they are like at the rate of configuration, at the rate of enable auto configuration, and at the rate of component scan. Okay, so at the rate of configuration makes the class as a configuration class. So that means that like Spring will treat it as a source of bean definition. So in simpler terms, we can say like it allows us to define beans within its class. Okay, and then at the rate of enable auto configuration tells Spring Boot to automatically configure the application based on the dependencies in the class path. Okay, so for example, if we are using database related dependency, so Spring Boot will automatically configure the necessary beans like data sources and all. Okay, so without needing any explicitly configuration. So this helps eliminate the need of like separate XML configurations and all. Then we have added a component scan. So this annotation tells Spring to scan the packages where the application is located. Okay, and all its sub packages for components, configurations and services. So this is how Spring Boot automatically detects like all components and beans like add rate of services, add rate of repository, add rate of controller, and it basically like bind them together. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so we have these annotations as you told, we have at service repository and controller, right? So suppose if we interchange them, okay, so what impact will be there uh, while execution, or you think what changes will be there?
Yeah, so add service basically we use for the if we have service class, so there we use this annotation. Repository we use for repository, and controller we use for the controller class. Okay, in I mean that is what the standard way. But can we interchange that? I mean, yes, technically yes, we can interchange them, but I think it is not advisable because all these annotations are at the rate of component based annotations. Okay, so the core reason is that each annotation serves a specific role, and misusing and can lead them to some confusion or improper behavior. Okay, so we can do that, but yeah, that is not advisable.
Okay, that's fine. But let's say we remove at the rate of repository and we keep there at the rate of service. So in that case, any difference you will see?
Yeah, if we like add the services, basically that is used for service layer. So add repository is used for the data access layer. Okay, so interchanging them won't break the functionality because both are treated as Spring Beans. Okay, however, it will violate the like convention and create confusion for other developers who expect to see like service classes labeled with add date of service, okay, and data access layer with add date of repository. And second thing is that the I mean add date of repository offers is exception like underlying to that it also handles the data access exception. Okay, so if we mistakenly we annotate a service class as let's say at repository, the exception translation behavior won't apply, and whenever any kind of exception is coming, so this exception we will not able to get. Yeah.
Okay, what are the scope variables of Spring Boot?
Scope variables, yeah, so there is singleton is there, so that is the default scope basically. Then we have a prototype scope, okay, and then we have request, then session, and then a global session.
So whenever you create a Spring Boot project, so you include application.properties or application.yaml file, right? So what is the difference between these two? When we should use which one? What is the advantage of these?
Yeah, the main difference lies in the format and how we define the configuration. So application of properties is like it is a key value pair format. So each property is defined in a single line like as key value. So it's a kind of simple and straightforward to use, and it's been around for a long time. So many developers are more familiar with it. So it will be like simply key value pair. Now we have application.yaml. So this uses a YAML structure, so which is more structured format we can say. So it is more human readable also. So especially when dealing with complex configurations like some nested objects and all are there. So in that case we should go with the YAML file. Okay. So in YAML we can represent nested structures more uh, better way we can say, and it uses indentation rather than the dots to separate levels. Okay, so we have to just like suppose we have to say spring data source URL, so we can say spring and the next line tab, so it will go to like little bit uh, indentation will be there, and we can further again in next line URL we can give, and we can give the URL. Okay, so yeah, so that's the difference between these two, and this is how we should use.
Okay, okay. Okay, so in Spring Boot, how we do health checks and all?
Yeah, Spring Boot provides built-in health checks via Spring Boot Actuator. So basically, in the dependencies, we have to include this actuator, and once that is done, so these health checks monitor the application's key components such as the database, messaging queues, disk space, etc. And it exposes their status through the simple HTTP endpoint. Okay, so by default, Spring Boot Actuator provides the health endpoint like actuator forward slash health, something like that. Okay, so that we can use to check the overall health of the application. Okay, and the status like it will simply say status is up or down, so that those things can be checked. So apart from that, it also has like Actuator has different endpoints. But yeah, so that is the how we can check the health of the Spring Boot application.
Okay, what are the other endpoints available using Actuator?
Yeah, after health we have matrix is there. Okay. Then we have beans is there. So all the beans will be shown like how many beans are there, count and all will be shown. Then I think info is there. Okay. Then loggers is there. So yeah, so these are the ones which I'm able to recall right now.
Okay, so coming to database, so what is the difference between union and union all?
Yeah, union and union all both are used to combine the result of two or more select queries, but their behavior is little bit different. Like so, whenever we have union, so it basically combines the result set of two queries and it removes any duplicate rows in that. Okay, so from the final result. Okay, so if there are rows that appear in both queries, so only one instance of that row will be shown in the result. Okay, then coming to union all, so a union all does not remove duplicates basically, so it simply combines all the rows from the both of the queries they are, and it include duplicates, so duplicates will be there in case of
What
union all.
about the performance? Which one is faster?
Performance wise, I think Union All will be faster because it does not require to check for duplicates. It simply does the Union All and generates the result. But in case of Union, like it is kind of doing Union All, then it is removing the duplicates. So I think yeah, Union All will be faster.
Okay, so what are the joins you are aware of? And in very few lines, can you quickly explain?
Yeah, sure. So we have inner join, left join, right join, and full join. So these are the main types of joins we use. So inner join basically it returns only the rows where there is a match in both tables. Okay. So if there is no match, the row is excluded from the result set. Okay. Then coming to the left join, and left join basically it returns all the rows from the left table. Okay, and the matched rows from the right table. So if no match found, okay, from the right table, then null values will be returned for the column from the right table. Okay, so it will be like kind of null, I mean left, but from the all the data from the left table will must be there. Now right join will be the reverse of this left join. So similar to left join, but it returns all the rows from the right table. Okay, and the matched rows from the left table. Then coming to full join, so full join basically returns all the rows where when there is a match in either left or right table. If there is no match, let's say we take the left table and there is no match for the right one, it will put null for those columns. And similarly, if there is a row in the left table, then the corresponding columns in the right table it will make it as null. Okay, but all the data from the both of the tables will must be there from the left and right both.
Okay, so what is the difference between subquery and join? So how it is different?
Yes, subquery is a query nested inside another query. Okay, so that is called subquery, and it is typically used to return a single value or a set of values that can be used by the main query. Okay, so let's say we say like select I mean a star from employees where salary greater than, again we can have another query. Okay, select average salary from the employee or something like that. Okay, So that is called the subquery. And then join is like it is used to combine the rows from two or more tables based on the related column. So there will be one primary key and foreign key relationship will be there. Okay. So I mean there will be one column. Uh, I mean there will be the common column we can say which will be referring to each other. Uh, it is generally more efficient and using subqueries because it operates directly on the table. So instead of performing nested queries. So yeah, so that's what the join is.
Okay, what is the difference between char and varchar data types?
Yeah, char is a fixed length data type we can say, and varchar is a variable length data type. So char it always uses the same amount of space regardless of the length of the string. For example, if we have char of 10, okay, so column will always occupy 10 bytes no matter what data we are adding to that. Okay, even suppose if we have the string of only 5 character long, but still it will occupy the 10 characters because it is char of 10. Now in varchar it only uses as much space as needed to store the string plus a small amount of overhead. For example, if we have varchar of 10, so column will only use 5 bytes for a 5 character string. Okay, so that's what is the varchar.
So you know distinct keyword.
Yeah, so distinct keyword is used to remove the duplicate rows from the result set. Okay, so it ensures that the query returns only unique records from the selected columns. So that's what is distinct.
Okay, okay.